Now we're going to plot our cross sections of our Road 1 road string, and to do this we go to the Roads tab, Plan Production panel, and click on the Cross Section Plots button. If for whatever reason you're not seeing that particular button, you'll just need to click on the pull down. The Cross Section Plots is the first available button found on that pull down, so you can go ahead and click on it there if you can't see it. We're then going to zoom into Road 1, and I'm simply going to left click near the alignment of Road 1, which happens to be the centre line. If you're not too sure, you can always just press enter or right click and pick Road 1 from a list. Simply going to pick selected sample sections. This will not impact the choices of cross sections that you have along your particular string. For the time being, always pick selected sampled sections. We're now in a live preview, which happens to be a new tab, a new layout tab found down at the bottom there, you can see, called Plotting Preview. If you inadvertently close this form by clicking on the close button or the cross in the top right hand corner, or even inadvertently go into model space whilst you're in the middle of plotting, you can simply go back to the Cross Section Plots button found on the ribbon, right click, select your string, and you'll be back into the plotting preview again. You can zoom in and out of this preview and pan whilst we're in the middle of seeing the state of our current list of cross sections. What you might do prior to beginning to change the number of cross sections that you've got plotting, or even the way in which they look, is to actually load in a style. And by loading in a style, it means that we've got at least the cross sections looking roughly how we want them to look prior to doing any more work. You would generally do this on a regular basis when you're working on projects anyway, to load in the style which you personally or your business uses. So we're going to go to the Load Style button found in the center of the form. This is our common folder, so any changes we make to this particular style we can then save back to the common folder, which means that every time we load we're presented with the same set of styles. We're simply going to pick the following from the list. It's got the word no offsets written inside, and then we're going to click on open. As soon as we do this, we're prompted to pick a save to change list. Now from here we can pick 10 meter spacings only and click on select, and we're going to review what that does very shortly. We may not have seen a great deal of change within our cross sections. This is because the layer control within the drawing hasn't been set up yet. So to speed things up, what we're going to do is type a command on our command line to get the colors of these particular layers that we're looking at correct, just to show you that you can change things whilst we're in the middle of a preview. If I select this piece of green text, go to the Home tab, which is just simply looking at my CAD, you can see that the layer that piece of text on is a layer called text, and it's colored green. So at this point I could simply go to the pull down, click on the little color swatch, change the color to, let's just say, color 7, and click OK. Any object within the drawing which is on that layer called text has now been changed to color 7. Now, to speed things up a bit, we've kind of pre-created a selection of layer colors which you can choose to use if you wish. So down in the command line, we're going to type the following, CSDLAY, and press enter. And what this will do is it will preset the colors of certain layers that are being used by default within Civil Site Design. You can see here we've got blue for the proposed surface and green for the existing surface, which is giving us a little bit of clarity now within the drawing environment. When we chose a style, we had the option of picking a saved change list. Now that saved change list exists in this pull down over here within the form. We're going to pick 10 meter spacings only, and then to the right hand side click on the pencil icon. This is a pull down which has lists of different changes that we would like to plot. Let's have a look at 10 meter spacings only from the list. And you can see here that we have all the way through at increments of every 10 meter a cross section being produced. Now this is a customizable list, so if you wanted to, you could either copy this list or do a save as. Every list is specific to a string that you plot. So if I was to choose 10 meter spacings for my next road, maybe road 2, 10 meter spacings only will be looking exactly like this. So I have to go through and make changes to it. So the nice thing is that it's bespoke for every single string that you print. We can go in and do things such as change the tangent spacing. So for example, if I wanted cross sections every 5 meters, for example, I could click on the 10, change that to 5, update list becomes available down the bottom, and I've now got a cross section every 5. So the number of cross sections that are going to appear in the preview very shortly is going to increase quite a lot. Maybe we would decide that we want to have some particular cross sections at points along our string. We can click on the string tab. We can have cross sections that are related to the horizontal geometry. To the vertical geometry, maybe you want to have a cross section that occurs at every single vertical IP of every vertical curve. Section sampling and design allow you to go and pick additional custom elements along your string. So for example, where we have an intersection between two road strings, we can have a cross section being drawn there. The one we're going to focus on is extras. This is probably one of the most useful. What this will allow us to do is actually pick chainages of our choice and have cross sections being drawn at those positions. So let's say, for example, we'd like to have one at chainage 27. All we do is type in 27, press enter, update the list. Now this list, just because they are being provided here on the left hand side, doesn't mean we have to use them. So if we decided we don't want one at chainage 25, for example, we can just uncheck it. We may decide between chainage 20 and chainage 26 that we want to have a spacing of every half a meter. So I'm going to make that 0.5 and then update the list. You can see here that those extras get added in. Now we can go in and choose any one of those that we do or do not want to have plotted, so we might just go and uncheck a few of them. Your list might look different, and that's absolutely fine. At the end of the day, this is to demonstrate to you how this particular tool functions, not necessarily having exactly the same cross sections produced on the screen. Once you're happy that you've had a look at this form, maybe had a play around with some of the content, all you can do is click OK. What you should find is that the number of cross sections on your screen has now increased, or possibly even decreased, depending on what you've done. Now mine has increased quite significantly. You can see here we've got a number of cross sections being produced. Now if you decide that you only want to have a certain stage or a certain range of cross sections being presented to you, where it says plot range at the top, we can say start is 0 and the end can be, well, let's just say in our case 130. And what that will do is it will reduce the number of cross sections that are being plotted. So you don't have to have a chainage list that only represents the ones you want to print. You simply come to the top here and give it a plot range. Now we're going to have a look at the settings and look at how we can control all of the cross sections globally within this particular drawing before we start looking at the bands and the annotation.